Hello guys, what is up? It is me, Prince of Redis, and I'm back here with another video. Today we are doing what if Deku had Darkseid'S powers. And this one I just kind of came up with on the spot, but if you guys like it, I might just keep doing it. So let's say the like goal for this is 50 likes just like before, and I'm giving you 3 days just like before. And if you can hit that, then I'll just make a part 2 to this. And next time I'll be posting what if Tanjiro cremation, because I know that I've neglected that series a lot. So I'm gonna stop being lazy and write the next part. So I have nothing else to say. I hope you enjoyed the new intro, and let's get right into it. When Deku was born, he's suspected to have a quirk because when Inko was holding him as he was born, he started to float. So as Inko hears this, she is very proud and happy for her son. And so for the next 4 years, Deku keeps getting tested, and they find out that he has 4 abilities, and he could have even more, probably, if they kept on testing and finding out new things. These abilities are super strength, super speed, flight, and beams that come out of his eyes, and they can reconstruct and destroy things. And he has gotten pretty good at using this ability, and if you guys know more abilities that Darkseid has, I'm just gonna add them in. And so they named his power Omega, because Omega usually just means something big and grandiose, so I'm just adding it in there. Plus his I-beam power is something that has the Omega effect, so I'm just adding that in there. And we're gonna change Deku's personality a bit, so he's a bit more direct but also just logical. So he's not just gonna be like annoying, he's just gonna tell you with a reason what he thinks. And he believes that you should take consequences for your actions, and that's the reason he wanted to be a hero. And it's not because he obsessed over All Might, but he does respect that he is the #1 hero, and is pretty sure that he could also beat him in a fight. And since I am overpowering this Deku a bit, he already can. So first day of Deku comes, and he goes to school, arrives, and enters the class, and starts introducing himself and says, "Hello, my name is Izuku Midoriya, and my quirk is called Omega." The teacher then says, "Oh, you already have a quirk? What does it do?" Deku starts flying and then lands back down in incredible strength, creating like a bit of a crater, and then appears in the back of the classroom instantly and appears back in the front. And the teacher says, "Wow, you're really strong, Izuku. I'm sure you can become a great hero." The class claps in amazement, and Bakugo does think Deku is cool for now. So during the 1 year at the school with everybody, certain people, including Bakugo, do try to get close to Deku, and he doesn't really like them and like just pushes them away, because he also discovers another ability he has, which is telepathy, and starts reading their minds, and actually finds out that the only reason why they want to be friends with him is because they want someone to protect them, and just a higher power to just be and like, you know, protecting them and only them, and kind of take advantage of Deku. So he really just pushes them all away, and he never really attacked anybody, but some of them did attack him first, so he did retaliate, but only after they hit him first, so they got in trouble instead of him. We get to when Bakugo gets his quirk and is getting congratulated and just being praised by everybody, and then he approaches Deku saying, "Now I have the best quirk. I'm gonna be better than you, Deku. I'm gonna be better than All Might." Deku then gets up and says, "Your quirk will never compare to my multiple quirks, and I'm not sure you're suited to be a hero. You just like fighting a lot." Bakugo pissed throws an explosion at Deku, and it's pretty big, and Deku puts his hand up and catches it and crushes his hand. And also, since Bakugo is pretty young, he didn't really control it that well out of anger, and actually messed up his own shoulder, so it wasn't all Deku's fault. And this shocks everyone as the teacher said to Deku, "Deku, let go of him. That's not nice." Deku then starts laughing a little bit crazy, to everyone's surprise, because he's usually really quiet and never makes much noise. And Deku says, "Shut up. If I didn't stop his explosions, he would have probably lit something on fire, and it would be your fault, and he would have probably hurt me. And are you stupid or something? You were literally the dumbest teachers ever. If I didn't have a quirk and he attacked me, you probably would have made us a story to save him because he has a quirk and you want him to be the best student. Pathetic." He then releases Bakugo, who is now crying, and picks up his backpack and walks out of the door, with the teacher saying, "Hey, come back here. We're still finishing the lesson." Deku then sighs and walks up to the board, picking up the chalk, and solves all the problems they were learning. and makes everyone's jaws drop and says, I'm gonna leave now. Never liked any of you anyway. Bye. And to everyone's shock again, he just disappears. This is his teleporting ability that he recently discovered. Of course, soon Deku is forced to come back to school, but on Deku's terms and condition. One, that the teachers that are in his class be replaced with someone more suitable because they're really irresponsible. And two, that he is not stuck in the same class with Bakugo, and so they make it so. And with what Bakugo did, after Inko hears all of it, one day, the day when she brings Deku back to school, she gives him a good smack, and this kind of relieves everyone because he started bullying people after Deku left, and they're honestly just happy someone finally told him to just shut up. And we're gonna time skip 10 years, and Deku is 15 now and has learned and mastered all his abilities, which are, I'm gonna list them now: flight, super strength, super speed, telepathy, telekinesis, invulnerability, enhanced reflexes, and teleportation. Sorry if you heard that. I apologize for your background noise. And his eye beams, and unknown to him, he also has a genius level intellect, but he doesn't really consider it a quirk because to him it's pretty normal that he can just solve things better than certain people. So yeah, he didn't count it as a quirk, but soon he will. And also, since Inko never got depressed because Deku didn't have a quirk, she's actually hasn't put on that weight and actually kept pretty healthy and spent more time with Deku. Deku also became the strongest and smartest kid in his class, and people respected him, but he didn't really like anyone else because they were all leeches. And since he also discovered a new ability that was telepathy, he could read their minds, and yeah, they just wanted to use him. So yeah, he just kept away from everyone again. And this actually developed a habit of him putting on headphones and listening to music to have an excuse to say, oh, I can't talk. And people won't talk to him. I think we can all relate to that. And he's gotten so into it that he actually just started listening to music and got more interested in it and started taking a few classes and going to dance classes, and also learned a bit of martial arts on the side, and became a black belt, and also became best in his dance class, and has learned to play a guitar, drums, trumpet, and a little harmonica that he keeps in his pocket. And he also won a few competitions in like singing and stuff or whatever, and getting first place every time. So some people know him around the city, and like his coaches or like his teachers who taught him what he knows now are pretty proud of their student. And his mom could not be more proud. I mean, her son is the perfect kid. We get to Deku's class, and unfortunately to his sadness, he is stuck with Bakugo again, who's always yelling. And the teacher is talking about career options until he just throws all the papers in the air and says, forget it, I know you won't want to go down the hero path. Everyone then starts screaming and using their weird and strange quirks, and the teacher tells them to settle down, and then mentions that Bakugo and Izuku are going to sign up for a UA. And he's pretty sure that they'll make it, and everyone starts murmuring like, yeah, Deku is definitely gonna make it, he's the strongest in the whole school. Bakugo then hears this and then starts rambling on about that he's the best and Deku isn't the best, and walks up to Deku's seat and yells out his name, and notices that Deku's actually sleeping, and Deku says, Mom, just 5 more minutes. Everyone starts laughing at this, and Bakugo is pissed and aims for his head with an explosion, and Deku's eyes flare at that moment, and he teleports at Bakugo's left side and kicks him in the ribs and sends him out the window. People go outside to look to see Bakugo, who's kind of coughing up blood, and then he gets taken to the school nurse by the help of his group, or posse, whatever you want to call them. They're just useless people anyway. And then soon the school day ends and Deku starts heading home. Of course, he was brought to the principal's office, but after finding out that Bakugo was up to his antics again, they just let him go, and Bakugo actually got punished instead, since it was just literally genuine self-defense. He was gonna blow up his head. That's not just like assault, that's attempted murder. So on the way, he takes a shortcut under a bridge and gets ambushed by a weird sludge who says that he needs his body. This sludge starts getting closer and closer and starts enveloping around him, and laughing maniacally until he sees Deku's eyes flare red and gets hit by a beam and starts yelling in pain as it completely disintegrates. Deku then says, "Well, that was weird. Better just teleport the rest of the way." And then he vanishes just as All Might lands and just looks around thinking, "I thought it was here. Well, let's check somewhere else." And then he blasts off as well. We cut to Deku, who just appeared in front of Inko, who's really surprised and says, "I thought I told you to stop teleporting." "Well, how was school?" Deku then says that it was pretty good and does not mention the attack actually, because it would shock her, and he helps her cook some curry and they eat and then they go to sleep. The next day he wakes up to go for some running to start his 10-month training routine, and while he's running he sees a girl with a notebook and a bass guitar and is blasting the music of a band that he likes. He walks up to her and says, "Hi, do you mind if I sit next to you?" Jiro then says, "No, I don't mind. Yes, this is the shift for this wedding. It makes perfect sense." She looks up to actually see Deku as he's sitting down and blushes because he is pretty ripped. He sits down and she starts recognizing him as that kid who won some music competition and asks if he can give her some pointers. He agrees and sits down and helps her, and they talk a bit more and actually realize they have a bit more in common than they thought and actually exchange numbers. And they say goodbye, and for the next 10 months, Deku does train a bit, but mostly spends time with Inko and actually meets up with Jiro a few more times, and they started to get a lot closer. So when the day of the entrance exam comes, he gets ready and heads off to UA. And on the way to enter, he doesn't trip, but instead he gets berated by yelling from Bakugo, who's saying, "How did you get so tall? Blah blah blah, how did you get so buff?" And Deku says, "It's genetics, just stop yelling." Deku then runs away from him to escape the noise and goes inside the auditorium. When he arrives there, he sees Jiro and sits next to her, and they start talking until President Mike steps in and starts explaining the test. And things play out as the original, except that Deku isn't mumbling, and then they head out. Deku is wearing, I'm gonna mention what he's wearing right now. He's wearing jogging pants with a white shirt and his classic red shoes, and of course he has his headphones. He then spots Jiro and goes to say hi, and that's when Ida gets in his way and says, "If you're thinking of sabotaging her, don't even think about it." Deku, confused, just says, "What the hell are you talking about? She's a good friend of mine, and why are you accusing me of attempted sabotage?" Ida still tries to talk back, and this is when Deku just gets tired of this and picks him up and throws him at a wall, which makes everyone look at him, and they're kind of impressed, but some people are just a bit more scared. Jiro then notices this as well and calls out to him, and then he gets closer. He walks up to Mina and Jiro, who are actually talking, and Mina starts blushing and asks Jiro if this is her boyfriend or something, and then Jiro starts blushing as well. And by the way, considering Mina is pretty pink, it's pretty noticeable, and this makes Deku actually laugh a bit. And since he doesn't really like using his telepathy to read people's minds without consent, except if he hates them or something, he's not reading their minds, so he doesn't know that they actually starting to get feelings or something. This is when the gate starts to open, with President Mike saying, "There are no countdowns in battle, just go." This is when Deku rushes out at incredible speed, creating a shockwave, and starts destroying a bunch of robots with punches and ripping them apart with his telekinesis. And All Might is in the monitoring room and observing everything, and it's just thinking, wow, this kid is really perfect for One For All. 10 minutes pass, and at this point he has gained around, I'll say, 350 points, and everyone is just looking at him, just destroying robots, and he looks like he's actually enjoying it. And all the teachers and students are thinking if he has a quirk similar to All Might. But this is obviously just a guess since they don't actually know. And of course Bakugo actually knows what his abilities are, and is just getting more and more jealous. This is when suddenly the 0-point robot is released by Nezu, and people start running away. And Deku hears Uraraka screaming and runs towards the robot because he can't really be wasting no time, and people are thinking that he's crazy. What is he doing? And when he gets close enough, he just does an insane jump that pushes people farther away with like the shockwave going everywhere. And when he gets close to the robot, he just fires a beam from his eyes that just disintegrates it to nothing. And everyone looks in amazement and thinking, does he have more than one quirk? This kind of creates like a domino effect, and everyone starts talking about it like, oh, you have more than one quirk. Okay, he has more than one quirk or something. And that's when everyone just starts cheering for him, and since they don't know his name, they're just saying, yeah, you go get that, bro. That was cringy, sorry. They're just cheering a little bit, and that's when he just starts floating back down, and instead of just falling down like people expected, and they're just yelling, he can fly? That's just cheating. He then lands back down and removing his the rubble off of Uraraka and starts carrying her, and she's blushing a bit because she just noticed, who was holding her. This is when Jiro gets in front of him saying, I'll take her back to the infirmary if you want. And she's obviously doing this because she doesn't want other girls close to him, and she's kind of developing a little something. Soon the test ends, and before he leaves, he goes to ask the mediators of the exam if he can be brought before who actually designed the whole thing, meaning the principal. And he's allowed to meet Nezu, who congratulates him on doing such good work. And the only reason why they allowed him that easily is because he did so well. And he asks what Deku wants, and Deku says that he wants to give 40 of his points to Uraraka. And Nezu agrees, and Deku thanks him and then leaves, with Nezu just thinking, that kid is gonna be a good hero. We move to the day when it's time for Deku's first day of actual school, and since he didn't want to be smothered by people on the bus, he decides to fly instead and arrives pretty soon. He enters the school to find the door to class 1A, and then looks at the door saying, why is it so huge? Whatever. And then he opens it, and as soon as he does, he's just surrounded by people asking, what's your quirk? What's your name? Blah, blah, blah. How strong are you? And he gets annoyed by this and teleports to a seat and says, stop yelling so much. This only makes people just talk more about oh, he's so cool, and so he kind of has that brooding Sasuke kind of attitude, but he's not stupid. In my opinion, Sasuke isn't exactly stupid, but he's just really edgy to the point where it's funny. But you get the point. I'm gonna stop getting off track. And this is when Aizawa walks in, and then him and Deku say at the same time, shut up, with both their eyes just flaring red. And Aizawa actually, who has his quirk activated, notices that his didn't cancel out Deku's, and is just kind of confused by this, and then leaves it because he wants to figure it out later. Right now they have to do the exams for their quirk. He then introduces himself and tells them that they will be doing a quirk apprehension test, and Uraraka mentions that they will probably miss the orientation while they're doing this. And Aizawa says, UA doesn't have restriction on teachers, we can do whatever. This place doesn't have tradition. Besides, it's just another speech congratulating you and raising your egos. Now go outside. And that's where I'm actually going to leave it off. I hope you guys like this. Like and subscribe and share this video. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.